evening, everyone. Welcome to College Focus, your program about your community college, St. Clair, about the people, the programs, and many of the services we provide for the community. St. Clair has a lot of campuses. We have 4 major ones, and one of them is in Chatham, our Thames Campus. So we're going to devote tonight's activities to the Thames Campus, and we have 2 very interesting guests. We look forward to a very informative and interesting show. Starting out, Mr. Casey Hoosman, who is the coordinator of the Developmental Services Worker Program. Casey, welcome to College Focus.
Thanks, Owen. Appreciate that.
What is a developmental service worker? Let's start right off.
Okay. That's a nice word, actually, to describe a person who supports people with handicaps, like people that are having developmental disabilities, people that have some mental retardation, maybe people that have sensory disabilities, maybe some difficulties with seeing, hearing, stuff like that.
So we've had this program for a number of years, have we not?
Yeah, quite a while. I'm not sure of the exact number of years, but
nonetheless,
10,
it's 10 or 15
maybe.
years it's been on the Thames Campus, I think since the very beginning of that campus.
Yeah.
How long have you been with the program, Casey?
I've been there, I've just started my 8th year.
Your 8th year?
Yeah.
And where were you before?
I was working with what's now called the Sarnia Association for Community Living, up in Sarnia, obviously.
Sarnia, that's somewhere up there in the province. They have a
little
community
farther
college.
north, yeah.
They have competition up there.
Yes, they do. They have Lambton College there.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, why would a young person, I say young person, that's becoming a little bit outdated. Why would a person, any person, pick this program? What are some of the attributes a person should have?
Actually, there's probably 2 main things in that. One is that it is a good, steady career in many instances, and the other, and I'll talk a bit more about that later on, if that's all right. And the other one is it's actually a very exciting field to be in, and because it's always changing, and with all the changes in our society going on, like it's really moving along, and that.
How about the changes in legislation? Is there anything there that affects this?
There have been many things that have been changing over the last number of years, and the whole provincial policy is to get people out into the community, getting them to participate in their own communities, doing different things where they're born, where their families live, rather than to separate people out, as we may have done maybe 20 years ago.
More home care.
A lot more things going on at home, home care, residential facilities, supported independent living, something that's really developing well, where people live in their own home, their own apartment, and workers just go in, work with them all day long, all evening long if necessary, or in other cases maybe just twice a week or once a week.
Would that be provincially supported?
Yes. Yeah, most of those services are provided through associations for community living and other community organizations, and the province pays a good part of the cost for that.
And how extensive is that at the moment? Like, how many graduates last year, for instance, went into that area?
We graduate about 75 people each year. We're a pretty large program. And the people that we get, the students, come from either Essex County or Kent County or Lambton County, because we're the only program of this kind in the 3 counties down here.
Okay. So your students come from those areas. Do you recruit in the high schools? Does the program have its own reputation carrying it? How are we?
Well, it's a combination of things. Yeah, we try to do some of each. We always try to make at least one visit to each of the high schools in Kent and Essex counties. And Lambton we try to get to as well, but it's a little bit farther away.
So the reason I ask that is I wonder if you get a lot of questions from the students about, well, what do you do? If I have this job now and I take the 2 years, what do I do?
Okay. I'm just going to paint a couple of pictures maybe, if that's all right.
Love it.
Okay.
Paint away.
Yeah. Give me my palette here. You may be working with a person who is just moving back to his own community, maybe may have been at Southwestern Regional Center, and is just moving into the community, needs to have a place to live, so the organization may get involved with that. Needs to, once he arrives, learn to find his way around, needs to be able to do things safely, needs to be able to make a whole bunch of different decisions that maybe he hasn't had to make before. So that now we're helping this person to take more control of their lives, and that so that they can be more satisfied and feel more involved in their own lives.
Now you teach in this program.
Yes, I do.
Where did you train, Casey?
Okay, I've kind of come through a bunch of different things, I guess. I went to Niagara College in a social services program, and then at the same time, I was working in a group home for 28 people, actually. And we thought that was pretty good at that in those days. And that was back in '72. And so I did a lot of part-time worked there all summer for 2 or 3 summers in a row. Then I moved up to Sarnia, and academically I completed my BA majoring in psychology while I was up there. And the rest of my training is basically a lot of in-service training, conferences, workshops, hands-on kind of things.
So how do you see our graduates continuing with their education? That's always something that interests us.
Yeah. We have some arrangements with a number of universities for credits to be picked up and for our grads to go on, and we usually have several that go on to teachers college. We've had 1 or 2 going into social work. Some people have gone into psychology and some different things like that.
Okay, where do you see the field going?
It's moving towards the community a lot, and we're really changing from a training approach to a support approach, and where we're going to support people in their community. And that's really pretty exciting, because that means that you don't have to get people ready, so to speak, because there was always this thing about people being ready or not being ready, and it really held them back. Whereas we're starting to look at things a lot more humanely, I think. I mean, when I moved away from home, I didn't know how to do everything that I needed to know, but I learned it kind of on the go. So people will hopefully be able to move, be able to make more and more decisions of their own, and receive some support with the things they can do. And at the same time, still learn a lot of things to do on their own, and that's important as well, of course.
How are we going to overcome a bias that exists in society? And speaking frankly, I think there is a bias toward people with various disabilities.
Yeah. I think the best ambassadors that we have are the people themselves. And like I know in Chatham, where I'm most familiar with, like there's a lot of people with all kinds of disabilities, not only people with developmental disabilities, but also people with physical disabilities. I've seen several people that are blind. And just seeing those people, I think, is going to make a big difference in the long run.
Does our student get some assistance in perhaps guiding these people toward a better self-image? And as you say, they'll be their own ambassadors, but do we train our students in those fields?
Yes, we do. Like self-esteem, self-concept is a very important part of our program. And actually, we start with the students themselves. Like I happen to teach a course in psychology of self, and where we get them to look at themselves and to discover all kinds of things about their own self-concepts.
Right at that stage, do any students step away from the program?
Not many, but there's a few that might.
Do you do some orientation in the early stages so they have a very good idea of what they're going to get into?
Yeah, we try to do actually even before the student ever enters the program, like on September the 1st, so to speak, and that we every month we have a tour and an orientation program that's available for anybody that wants to come and participate in that. And we spend some time talking about the program, and we take them out for a tour of the Southwestern Regional Center, as well as showing them some slide presentations of some community services.
Let's look at the big picture. How does Canada rank, or how does it stack up against the rest of the world? We're always talking about Canada in terms of trade with the rest of the world, Canada in terms of environment in the rest of the world. How about in terms of our people services? Where do we sit?
Okay, I'm not sure if it's possible to talk about Canada as such, because most of these things are provincially regulated. And really I'm most familiar with the ones in Ontario. And I know right at the moment, like we're moving at a pretty rapid clip, and we have some excellent services that are available in our very own province.
Compared to the rest of, okay, let's compare to the province with the rest of Canada.
Yeah. Like British Columbia's got some good services too, and I wouldn't want to say that the other provinces don't have any, but they're not as systematically developed, and they're in some areas, like they're a bit behind in terms of the number of people that they have in institutions.
And who's responsible for this development? Are the educators involved with this development?
They are to some degree, but actually the original drive for this came from parents and families. And it starts back about 35 years in that, when there was really nothing available for a person with a developmental disability. Either you had to stay at home and the parents didn't get any help, or they had to go out to a residential facility. And that there was two choices. And doctors oftentimes said, well, you better go and put him in there, because that way he'll be happy forever with his own kind. That has changed a lot, obviously.
Happy forever with his own kind. All
That's right. Don't hear that too often anymore,
sensitive.
fortunately. Yeah, right. But I guess I can't very well blame people way back then. I mean, that was probably the best that they could do. And that, but fortunately for us, really, because we benefit from this too, people are now with us a lot more. And even the students that we get, they've oftentimes met a lot of people in school, because there's a lot more integrated classes.
Yes.
Pretty well every school has students with special needs, and they're very visible. And many high schools actually use their other students to provide some extra support, some friendships, and some of those very important interpersonal things. So by the time our students come to us, like, they've already been exposed to it. I shouldn't say to it, but to the people that eventually they're going to be working with.
Which must help us in a sort of backwards way, not a backwards way, but a backdoor way in terms of the recruiting. They realize that this is something that they wish to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the province, as you say, is moving ahead. Obviously, governments come, governments go. There must be a central core, or central body in the province that's contributing to this advancement.
Okay, there's the Ontario Association for Community Living, which is kind of the coordinating organ of the local associations for community living, and they're quite effective in terms of lobbying, in terms of talking to different people, doing public education things. There's also the government itself, the Ministry of Community and Social Services, that is really on a much more broader level moving towards providing services for people out in the community.
Do they regulate your curriculum at all? Is there any governmental regulation in terms of the curriculum you provide?
Not really. There are some mechanisms that are used to develop the curriculum, and that probably one of the most important things that we have is an advisory committee. And it's a local body, or a regional body actually, of people that work in the field and that either run agencies or that operate them. Or
well, how about if I'm at Niagara? Let's mention some community colleges. I'm at Niagara, I'm at Mohawk, I'm at St. Clair, Thames Campus, I'm up in Kapuskasing. Can I run any program I want to train developmental services workers, or is there a basic curriculum?
Well, yeah, there is a basic curriculum when you get right down to the nitty-gritty of it, but it's fairly broad. Like, we know that we got to teach people health promotion, for example. We know we got to teach people some behavior management. We, most importantly, need to teach people to carry on respectful relationships with people out in the community, be they handicapped or not. We need to teach people how to help people to develop their own abilities. We need to teach people how to make good decisions. Okay, so there are a variety of things that people need to know and be able to do in order to be an effective developmental services worker.
And these would be common across the province. Do you as educators get together occasionally to discuss these things?
Yes, we do. Like, we have what we call coordinators conferences at least once a year. And there's actually 11 colleges in the province that offer this particular program. And we all get together and we talk about curriculum developments, where everything's going, and common problems.
Just on another area of education, would the universities have anything similar to this? I know they have social work departments, things of this nature. Do they affect what you're doing at all, or are the graduates doing the same things? What is the interchange there?
I think our students would have a lot more skill, and they would be able to go out and do things, because about 40% of the time that our students are with us, which is 2 years, they're on practical placements. They're learning by doing things.
Okay.
Whereas if they were in a university, chances are they would do a lot of brain work, and they might know a lot about the work, but they wouldn't actually
they might not have had the hands-on.
Do it, right.
Where do you place your students for your placements?
Okay. We have three types of placements. And one is what we call a generic placement, which is another interesting development just over the last 3 or 4 years, where our students go for 5 weeks and they spend time at a service for people that are actually not developmentally disabled. And they may be people with psychiatric disabilities, or elderly people, or kids with learning disabilities. And so they're all over Sarnia, Windsor, Chatham, and the counties, and that.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Casey, thank you very much. That's a great program. It's been an excellent interview. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's-
having you on. Let's
Oh, good.
get you back if you can spare the time later on from what I'm sure is a busy schedule. We'll be back to you in just a moment. We have another public service announcement prepared by the students at St. Clair College. Thanks.
Laugh. That feels good inside.
Susie's biggest dream was to read to her family.
Thank you, Lord, for good times like
The Canadian
that.
National Institute for the Blind made that dream come true. For more information, please call or visit the CNIB office.
Welcome back. We have another guest from the Thames Campus, one of my favorite people, Mrs. Maxine Lloyd, and I say that because Maxine and I have served on a number of committees. We both know a little bit about early childhood education. She knows a lot more than I do because she is the coordinator of the early childhood education program on the Thames Campus. Welcome, Maxine.
Correct. Thank you very much, Owen. It's nice to be here.
Good to have you here. Now, early childhood education, you have been doing this for how long?
At the college for 3 years, and I won't tell you how long in total.
Oh dear, I thought we were going to find out the secret.
Oh, no.
You've come a long way at the college in 3 years at the Thames Campus. Tell us, 3 years ago, what did you have?
We had nothing in terms of early childhood education except for a part-time program offered through continuing
evenings.
education.
And
right,
now
in the
you
evenings.
have?
Full-time program. We've had one graduating class, and we're into our 3rd year.
And something even more exciting than that,
A
or
brand
as
new
exciting.
daycare center. That's correct.
Yeah, right there on campus,
Right.
in cooperation with a local company. I suppose we better not name it just in case, but a large local industry is assisting you in this.
Right.
How's it working out?
It's working very well. We just opened this fall, and we're at a 75% capacity rate, so
Does it take a
doing
while to
really
fill
well.
up a daycare?
It usually does.
For anyone starting out in daycare
Yes.
now, they just don't
Absolutely.
automatically have a full house.
No.
What are some of the reasons that, there's this demand for daycare? Now, why would it take time to fill a daycare if you opened it?
Well, when you first open, first of all, parents, of course, are concerned with quality. So if they are satisfied with the whatever service they're using at the time, it will take them a while to make sure that the new center is operating at a level that interests them.
But if it's connected with a college, can there be any doubt?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
No.
And how is it connected with a college? What's your connection with it?
Well, it's actually a workplace daycare center, and the two groups, it's Union Gas is
Yeah.
the company in Chatham, and they have been very, very supportive of this project, so I'm sure they'd like to hear their name mentioned, and then also with the college. So it's a workplace daycare for the staff at Union Gas, and then also for the staff and for the children of the students at St. Clair College.
Union Gas, Union Gas, Union Gas. Okay, and for the staff and students, do they
Right.
have preference?
Those two groups do, yes.
And anyone else gets on a waiting list?
That's correct.
Now, how do our students use the center?
In a number of different ways, actually. First of all, and probably the most important, this means that there's a daycare center for the students that are returning that have children of their own. So that's extremely important in this day and age where we have problems with a lot of low-income single moms, and without the education, coming back to school, and so of course they need daycare center for their children.
Who picks up the
So-
costs for them? That's
Well,
got to be expensive.
Absolutely, and this is something that we'll be hearing more about with the new government, I'm sure. But at the moment, if you're a low-income individual and you need daycare services, then there's a process that you go through to be needs tested, and at that point they determine how much of the daycare dollar you will be expected to pay and how much the government will pay.
We were talking earlier about the cost of daycare, and I guess there are a couple of factors that drive those costs. Traditionally, if I may say, traditionally the daycare worker has not been the highest paid,
No, that's
service or caregiver, but that's improving.
Yes.
Somebody has to pay for that. without putting you on the spot, where do you think it's going to go?
Oh,
I've
don't
you
put me on the spot. Sure. That's not on the spot.
No, of course not. You're going to predict the future is all. Is it going to get any better? Is it going to get any worse? What can
I think
governments
so.
do?
I think so. I think
You think what? It's better or worse?
Yes.
Yes.
Both.
Uh-huh.
No, it's getting better because
It's like interviewing Brian Mulrooney. Okay, it's going to get better
right
for the workers, for the parents.
for the whole. Here, I'll give you another pat answer for the whole public in general because first of all, for the workers, daycare people. Like you say, their wages have been very low, and with subsidies from the government again, their wages have been increased through the direct operating grant that goes to local operators. So right there, we've been able to keep some really good qualified people in the field. Now, service goes up too when you can keep those qualified people in those roles. So then the children are happy, the parents are happy with that service, so then the mom can continue to work or the single dad can continue to work. So there's a whole cycle of things that go on when you have good quality daycare for the children in our society.
And along with that, when your principal, Paul Balklow, was on a month or so ago, we were talking about the involvement of the Thames Campus in the community, that it's very much a community campus. It's very well integrated. How has the reception been to the center? Has this helped to tighten some of those bonds? It's been very positive.
I would say so. Like you say, it is a very tight-knit community, and I think because it's small, and the campus is small, that's one of the benefits, that we have the small campus. Everybody knows everybody else. And it's, like you say, it's a real bonding. We have a support group in the community for daycare operators, for example. And so our new supervisors join that group.
How does that work?
We meet regularly, and I meet with those supervisors as well, and we discuss common concerns, quality, different services that various facilities can offer to preschoolers, and just issues and concerns in the field that are never-ending and always changing.
And is this, as a support group, do they bring ideas to you as to how you would, in working with the students, some things that you might change in the curriculum? Or?
Yes, oh, absolutely. And we also have an advisory committee that's very involved and also has lots of very excellent suggestions. But this supervisor support group, also, we bounce ideas back and forth, and they make suggestions, and they're certainly implemented.
Would you be in a position to say what other services similar to daycare would be needed, or areas that the college could develop in that are similar to that? I don't. There's some talk of, for instance, daycare assistants or daycare workers who don't, say, spend the 2 years. Is the field able to support these type of people as well?
Well, I think you need
Similar
to look
to nursing.
with the nursing assistant program.
Yeah.
I think you need to look at the various communities. Our community, there's a great need for trained individuals to work in the daycare centers. And so for our program, we have 25 seats, for example, so we'll be graduating hopefully 25 people at the end of each year. Many of those people go on to university or they go into other programs in the college. So not, say you have 18 or 20 graduates that are willing to go out into the community and work in the preschools, it still isn't enough. I'm not an advocate for any other types of programs that offer a lesser amount of training. Individuals that are working in preschools are encouraged to continue their education through the night school program or to come in and pick up day school classes.
So you're suggesting that even with the extensive programs we have, that's not enough training. They can use more. Well, the graduates have gone into, what, pre-kindergarten now, and we're talking about school-age children. Is that an area that you see some development in?
Yes, that's...
What does that mean now?
School-age programs are offered to children of school age, so 3.8 now with the numerous junior kindergartens that are in operation, right up to and including 12 years of age. And that older group have traditionally been called the latchkey children. So these are the children that may go home to an empty home and have some responsibilities.
That must put some stress on you as an educator then. You've gotten out a program that is for a, 6-month-old, 3-month-old, up to a 12-year-old?
That's right. There's a lot of areas to cover in 2 years. It's a lot of information to get across to people in 2 years. And this is where our field placements come in that are so handy. We have 3 2-week placements in the first year and 3 3-week placements in their second year. And students are encouraged to get a variety of experiences during those times. And what we're talking about in class, of course, they go out and they see it.
So
in
that's
practice.
15
So
weeks. That's the equivalent of 1 whole semester hands-on in the workplace.
right.
Which is part of why this program is so successful and why the graduates do so well.
I think so.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. We're wrapping it up here, and I want to thank everyone who was watching this evening. We've had some excellent interviews tonight, and hopefully you'll be looking forward to seeing us next week. Until then, it's College Focus, produced here on the campus, St. Clair College, by the staff and students of the college. Good night, and thank you.